Should I 43 female tell my best friend's husband 43 male that his wife 40 female is having an emotional affair and is planning to get a hotel with another man 59 male the first night of our trip instead of meet me that night? My best friend 40 female and I 43 female have a girls' weekend planned at the end of the month. I need advice. We've been close best friends for 15 plus years. We don't live in the same state, and for the last several years, we get together 2-3 times a year for girls' weekends. Her husband has always been someone I respect and appreciate. He's good to her. They have kids, and it's hard to see her making choices that are going to hurt him and result in potentially losing her marriage. Her husband doesn't meet her emotional needs, and their physical relationship has always been unsatisfying to her. Summary from years of our conversations about it. He's a good person though, and doesn't deserve to be deceived or hurt. She had an emotional affair for about 8 months and kissed and messed around with this same person a few times last year. Didn't have ex. He didn't have money and she has a lot of money. Her husband caught her. She told him she'd stop talking to the guy. She cut back on the relationship, but continued lying and continued the emotional affair with this other man for several more months. Her husband has forgiven her, and he's been committed to trying to work it out. Some days she really wants to work it out, and other days she wants to have the other friendship and feels like she can't live without it. Recently she told me she had cut that friendship off. But there is someone else in the picture now. She's taken this new relationship emotionally and physically farther. Faster. He's an older man, late 50s, and she's almost 40. And he has a lot of money. She says she can see herself with him long term. She and I are meeting up at the end of the month for a girls' weekend, and she just let me know that instead of meeting me Thursday, she is meeting me Friday morning, and she is going to meet this guy on Thursday, and they've got a hotel that night. She told me her husband won't think anything of it because he knows she's meeting up with me. Lots of mixed thoughts and feelings. I want to cancel the trip. I want to tell her husband. I want to tell her not to do what she's doing. I've told her for the past year she's making decisions that she will regret if when she loses her marriage, and she can't hear, chooses not to listen. I care about her. I love our friendship. I also feel used. I feel like she is ruining her life and her husband's life. And her choices will hurt her kids too. I also feel like canceling the trip. Telling her husband. Or confronting her about what she's doing could end damage our friendship beyond repair. Any suggestions, advice on how to handle this? Should I tell her husband her plan? If so, what's the best way to do that? Should I cancel the trip and just withdraw myself from the friendship until things change? Too long didn't read. My best friend 40 female is getting a hotel with an older man 59 male. She's having an emotional affair with the first night we are supposed to meet for a girls' weekend. Her husband doesn't know about this guy. Should I 43 female tell her husband 44 male? At the absolute minimum, you should cancel the trip and walk away from this woman who is using you for emotional support while she cheats on her husband. I think you should tell him though. As another poster said, she's putting his health at risk. His emotional health is also at play here. Knowing she's cheating lets him begin his healing process that much sooner. It's already going to be bad for him. But if it continues and the cheating gets even further along, it's just going to be that much worse for him. And as for her, she knows what she's doing. And she knows what the consequences are. You should absolutely let her learn to live with the responsibility for her actions. Maybe she'll grow up. Absolutely you should. Could you ever look him in the eye afterwards? I wouldn't be able to, and while a lot of people will say not your business, I think you are doing both of them a favor in the long run. No, I would never be able to look him in the eye. I keep thinking I should cancel the trip and avoid being part of however it ends up playing out. Personally, I have been on the other side of this coin. Not so much a husband yet, but a few months away from a marriage with a girl who turned out to be cheating on me. The only reason I found out is because one of her best friends pointed me in the right direction. I am forever thankful for her telling me that. That being said, one thing you should know. My ex now hates the friend that warned me. This has happened about 7 years ago. They still don't speak a word to each other. That best friend still believes she did the right thing. Just as I still believe that. Still, it was a painful experience for all of us. My ex was not a bad person. She did something horrible. But she is not inherently bad. She knows how awful it is what she did. However, she felt completely betrayed by her friend. Which I can understand. In retrospect, That friend should have probably given my ex an ultimatum before telling me. Something along the lines of either you tell him or I will. What I am trying to say is, it won't be pretty. There are no winners here. Only losers. Try to talk to your friend first and give her a choice. I think you have to remember that once you do that, there is a good chance you won't be friends anymore. Another good chance is that she will simply start lying to you as well. So tell her first and give her a choice. If she continues it without telling her husband first, you tell her you gave her a choice and then tell him. Just make sure you explain your choices to her. This might save the friendship in the long run. It will save him a lot pain though. Second story. I am looking back and wondering. So about 2 weeks before I was dumped by my ex, she took a trip to see a guy friend of hers for some activities. It didn't bother me, we had a week-long trip planned for the following week, and I was going to visit my dad and get things ready. When we last saw, I did my usual and told her to let me know when she arrived. Well, hours passed and no text. I texted and got a response hours later. I didn't think much of it. Fast forward a day or so, I am not hearing anything from her, which isn't usual, but the weather is getting horrible for our trip, and we would need to start replanning. I text her and we chat for a bit. She's dealing with big drama and is not enjoying herself. So I am like, come home, there is all of drama. She goes, no, I don't want to leave just yet, especially if we have to cancel our trip. Her responses are getting less frequent and taking longer. We finally cancel the trip and she says I am going to stay longer so I can see her mom. I say hello to you mom for me, and she's like, we are going to have breakfast with her. I am thinking you and your friend. She finally is on her way home, and I ask her to come see me since my place is on the way, and I get back. I am exhausted this weekend, had too much drama, and I need some time to relax. Also, being with my friend waxed too close for comfort. At this point my anxiety is through the roof. The next day I ask to come see her, and she's busy. Then the next few days she's going camping with some acquaintances. So we finally meet, and it was like pulling teeth to see her, and she's half rude to me at first but calms down. We spend the night together, and she seems distant emotionally and physically, basically cold. 2 days later she dumps me. Just saying we are now incompatible, and she needs someone more confident in his abilities. Well, 5 months later we talk about the relationship, and I found out she ended up jumping a relationship with her friend right away, and she's moving in with him at the end of the month. My trust was completely shattered, even though I kinda thought this is exactly what happened. She still was begging for us to stay friends. My question is, did she most likely cheat on me on her trip with her friend? Yes, this is a monkey branch. She was interested in this guy before that trip even happened, you just were unaware. The unspoken purpose of her trip was so that she could spend some time with him and see if a relationship was viable. Had she determined it was not, she would still be with you for at least a while. During the visit sparks must have flown, which is why you saw her getting colder and less responsive. A monkey branch is the worst way to leave a relationship. It involves deception, lies, and indifference. She has shown you the true colors of her character. I would learn what lessons that you can from this experience, and then put her in the rearview mirror. There are better people out there. She at least emotionally cheated. Even if not physically. Though probably that too. Yes. You got monkey branched. She had her next relationship all set up before she left yours. I'm not sure why you'd want to keep such a person in your life. She wants to stay friends so she can pretend what she did wasn't so bad if you're still friends. It couldn't have been that bad. Right. She'll be a shitty friend. Though. You know you can't trust her. You can't confide in her. You won't be comfortable hanging out. And you know she'll always put her needs first. So what kind of friend is that? Third story. Hi. My husband, 26 male, and I, 24 female, just got married a month ago. And yesterday morning I got a message on Facebook, hey, your husband saw me on Facebook dating, and we were talking, then added me on Snapchat, and I noticed he was married. I confronted him. He denied it and blocked me. Just thought you should know. So of course I told her thank you because I didn't know. And I confronted my husband. He confessed to it right away. Said it has only been 2 days and that when she said that to him, it disgusted him and he was done. Obviously I don't really think that's the truth. I think he's done because he got caught and feels bad. We've been together for almost 5 years and this isn't the first time we've had an issue like this. Around our 1-year mark I caught him on dating apps and looking for girls to talk to. But after that I do really believe he changed and grew. Until this point, I don't know what I want to do, what to do. Obviously, I don't think we're in a healthy relationship, but I don't want to give up so soon on our marriage. To be honest, I also have nothing. I'm unemployed and in school right now. His mom helps us pay our bills as of right now. What would the steps be in trying to rebuild trust and continuing in our relationship with love? A little backstory: we both have some mental health issues, depression, codependency issues, ADHD and AD. And our relationship hasn't been the healthiest the last few months because of a lot of stress and planning. I do slack on a lot of household work, but I know, and he knows, that doesn't justify cheating. We both come from homes where the parents divorced because dads cheated. Both of our granddads did as well, so I do honestly think genetics, family history plays a role in things too. Fourth story. How do I 30 male handle the horrible relations between my wife 30 female and my mother 50s F after several shitty things my mother has done? My wife and I have been together 11 years. Married 6. Things have always been pretty shaky between her and my mom. My mom have many toxic traits. She is quick to forget anything anyone does for her, but remembers every favor she did for them. And subtlety holds it over their head when she needs help with someone. She is quick to anger if she feels any form of disobedience or disagreement from anyone that she feels is beneath her children, employees, service employees, etc. Early in our relationship 10 years ago, my mother had a meltdown while drunk over me not taking care of some chore fast enough. Wife then girlfriend stood in my defense and my mom verbally and physically attacked her. I moved out and cut communication to near zero for the next several years. Mother apologized while never admitting to physically hitting wife and asked for a second chance years later. We decided to give her another chance and things were fine for a long time. Since then, my mom has helped us tremendously throughout our relationship. She's helped wife pay for her car, set up the saving account needed for our home down payment when I was younger, given several expensive gifts for our wedding and paid for some expenses, and more recently retired from her small business and gave it to us at a relatively low price. My mom started another, much smaller business with her husband at the same time. My mom has 2 kids with him who I love to spend time with. My mom also plans to sell us the property the business is on within the next couple years. Between the property and business, we are honestly set to retire at a very young age. My mom has done a lot of shitty things after we took over the business, which led to how bad things are now. As I mentioned, her and her husband started their own smaller business on the same property as wife and I's business. It was supposed to be a very 50-50 deal, with land being split in half, utilities, etc. This changed quickly, with her husband creating a fence in the yard, giving us one for the space. It's enough, but just barely and not what was agreed. They also did not respect boundaries from the start, with her husband regularly borrowing our equipment and even vans without asking, and sometimes returning them broken. I immediately made a stance, told them they are to ask for permission before using anything. They also pushed 100% of utilities on us. We were making so much more money than before that we agreed to it as we didn't want to fight over it and felt grateful for the opportunity of running the business. But it was not what was agreed. My mom regularly asks for help with many things in her business regarding technology, payroll, and is constantly asking us to file paperwork for them when they are busy. If we were too busy to drop what we were doing and do it immediately, she would storm out angrily. I waited for things to calm down and had a discussion over boundaries with her. That we have our own business to run and are not going to prioritize her things over our own. And that if we help with something, it will be when we are available. Things were just shaky for the first year of running the business, with her constantly ignoring boundaries, requesting way too much of our time, and making rude comments about us not being in the office as much as she is. We often work from home and delegate tasks to our employees, which she takes as us not taking the business seriously or running it properly. She also asks for advances on our business payments regularly. One day, she called me while we were at home and started yelling at how we've acted unappreciative to her and never help her with anything, and that I am entitled like my wife and her parents didn't raise her right, and they're rude too. Some was on speaker so my wife heard. A lot was by text. I sent a lengthy text that she is out of line, that she is being incredibly rude and belligerent. not to talk to me unless it has to do with work, and that we would be finding a new place for the business. We were shocked that she insulted my wife and her family. But that was what really set my wife over the edge. This was the second big incident, and I don't think my wife will get over it, or that she should have to. We decide to stay in the same building because we don't want to give up the opportunity of buying it, and the cost of moving would be significant. There are also not many good options at the time. Things calmed down. We kept a good distance. Short answers to any attempts from my mom to communicate. We blocked her on social media, and my wife blocked her phone number. But we still share business property with her. It's impossible to not see her. Over time, my mom tries acting friendlier. I called her out by phone and had a bit of a meltdown myself, telling her how shitty she's been acting and how she never changes. I can tell it hurt her, and she apologizes. But I know she's not the kind of person to change. She still makes rude comments to our employees about minor things like not letting her know when a package comes in for her right away. My mom and her husband recently announced they were moving out of state and have spent a significant amount of money to do so. It was definitely a relief, as I feel we can sort of wait things out, and then wife won't have to be around her when they move. I am estimating within a year. But there's no set date as they're building the property. I haven't forgiven her. And honestly, I don't like her as a person, although I do appreciate the things she's done for us. If my mom calls or asks me about a trip, I am friendly enough while keeping things relatively brief. My wife absolutely hates her and would smile if she died. She's mostly quiet if my mom is around, but handles her extremely well to keep the peace. I am stuck in the middle in terms of whether or not to be friendly with my mom. I am not looking to go on family trips or anything, but I am trying to keep peace by balancing everything. She's done and said shitty things to us, but we share a property with her, and I don't have the energy to fight with a neighbor constantly. We also have a vested interest in buying property from her, which isn't possible if we're on bad terms. I also want to be able to see my younger brother and sister occasionally, which wife doesn't really care about. Wife is angry with me because I am not more angry towards my mom, and I don't blame her. But considering everything, I don't have the drive to keep that fight going. I feel if it bothers wife so much, we can just give up on buying the property and move to a new location. She doesn't seem to want that so much as me to have a harder stance on my mom and call her out anytime she does anything rude out of line. Whereas I tend to let it build up and lay it all out eventually. As like I said, no amount of discussion has really changed my mom's behavior. Am I handling this wrong? Should I prioritize separating wife-mom? Or should we relax and wait it out until they move so we can buy the property and make a lot of money? Too long didn't read. My wife absolutely hates my mom and wishes for me to be more angry about some of the things she's done. I am inclined to keep good relations due to the circumstances. Update. Thanks all for your advice. I am going to discuss getting a new property with my wife to separate us from my mother. Update 2. Wow. Thanks for all the comments and advice. I suppose I should have expected a mix of you're a horrible husband and you're a horrible son. I'll address most clarifications by comment. But I think it's important to mention that we do not regularly receive gifts or handouts from my mom. Any gifts we accepted were early in our marriage, for the business. We had no intention of getting into it. I got accepted into a software engineering firm, and my wife was set to become a teacher. But my mom frankly ran into legal trouble and needed to get out of her business ASAP. This was supposed to be a win-win. We changed our plans and bought the business. But as I mentioned, the price was very low, and in that sense it was a sort of a gift. These days we don't ask her for anything or accept anything given out, and most help is from us given to her. The property isn't going to be discounted for us. We're just going to have first dibs on it. I know these sound like excuses. They're not. It's still engaging in financial deals with someone we know will try to hold it over our head. I just wanted to add some context. I spoke to wife about moving. She thinks it's dumb since they'll be moving soon, and there are no other options to buy in our city. We're still discussing how to get on the same page, resolving conflict with my mom, and if we need to go rent somewhere else and give up on buying property. The second thing is that while my wife and I both agreed to deal with my mom, my wife feels more like I've forgiven my mom and that she's on her own and being angry at her for what she's done. Whereas I have been trying to keep peace until my mom moves, despite not really forgiving my mom. as many have suggested. This mostly boils down to me being bad at enforcing boundaries. Thank you again. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.